both. And if the child or the person on whom FGM is being performed dies, the charge is life imprisonment. That law is here, and it's not changing.
Oh, absolutely.
So at the moment, the case is with the police and the courts, and we are waiting for the decision on it.
Yes, so perhaps the thinking here is that maybe this is a new threat to babies. Because of this, I suspect that this is the first reported. But how can we tell whether other people had done it? But because the baby had not died, so you wouldn't hear about it. So from that angle, have you come up with a kind of policy tweak to take into account this possible threat? We do not know.
Well,
do we?
no policy action has been taken for now. But I want to say that because cases have not been reported, I have no doubt babies have been dying and we never knew it was due to FGM. But again, FGM is an entrenched traditional belief and practice. Many, many years ago, people have died through FGM, and it was associated to witchcraft. Yes. But what we are telling the populace is that there is a law. If you hear it's happening, or if you hear it's about to happen, call and report. You can call the numbers. 199 is anonymous, and so that action can be taken and the gas can be prevented.
Okay.
Yeah, and as we are speaking, even before this particular incident, we have been very busy at community level, doing sensitization and awareness creation on the harmful effects of FGM. At the same time, popularizing the law. During the pushback, we had a lot of engagements with National Assembly members. And one of the recommendations from them was that they want to engage their constituents. As we are speaking, this coincided with the death of this child. We got funding last year, which we are still implementing activities for. The funding came from UNICEF. Right now, my staff are in the field with the National Assembly members, organizing sensitization activities at the level of the grassroots on the harmful effects of FGM, and also delinking it from Islam, at the same time popularizing the law. This is an ongoing activity, and it's going to continue. And our efforts as a government have been complemented by the NGOs and CSOs.
Yes, but that the awareness campaign, that's one aspect. But some might say that when we look at how you are tackling it, how many charges have we had? I mean, if on the one hand we say that it is prevalent, but on the other hand we do not hear much of people being charged or being prosecuted and the like, then it sort of raises certain questions.
Yeah, Mr. Boyd, that's not only for Gambia, but anywhere that the laws are passed, people hardly report. That's the issue. If you don't report that the case has happened or is about to happen, there cannot be an arrest. And there cannot be prosecution. That's one, you have to understand that.
Oh,
we live in a closed society. People don't report. But if people report, be rest assured that the right course of action will be taken.
Absolutely. But again, what does that tell us? That tells us that we are not really making any inroads in this.
But again, even though people are not reporting, but one thing is clear. You see, when the campaign against FGM started, it was tough. It was a difficult topic or issue to discuss. At that time, it was a taboo to mention the words. Not alone to discuss it in public. It wasn't discussed. This was when the prevalence was 90% national, higher in the rural areas, and as you come to the urban areas, you see the regional changes, reduction. But we have come a long way through advocacy activities. Now FGM has become a household word. You can discuss it anywhere openly. And one interesting thing, as I mentioned yesterday in my program, is that we have seen young people's organizations coming up now, to take up the advocacy role. That's important. Because if the young people are taking it up, it means, and they are good boys and girls. You have the girls' agenda, thinking of women, safe hands for girls, and the list goes on. It means those boys who are in those organizations, those girls will not cut their babies. And those boys who are in those organizations will marry uncut girls, and they will not cut their children.
I got your point there, absolutely.
And right now, as we are speaking, the prevalence is going down.
Yes.
So the advocacy here is very, very important. The awareness creation, the sensitization, and that's going to continue. So that people become more and more aware of the dangers, and they stop on their own accord. But that notwithstanding, the law is there to stay.
Absolutely. Just by discussing it, that's progressive. Yeah. I understand that perfectly. Let's move on a bit now to gender. The President launched the 2025-2034 National Gender Policy, describing it as a roadmap for transformative action. But before we look forward, how much of the previous policy's objectives were actually achieved?
A lot were achieved. This was the gender policy 2010-2020. A lot was achieved in terms of legislation. We have the legislation against FGM. We have the legislation against child marriage. And at the level of the Minister of Justice, the agenda unit has been established to arrest and prosecute cases. So a lot has been achieved. A policy doesn't achieve all of its objectives at once. But this policy achieved a lot, and in the area of education, we have seen an increase in the education budget. For example, in 2021, the budget increased to 15.6%. And in 2022, it increased to 17.13%. And in 2023, it increased to 17.50%. And even now, it is on the increase. That is a remarkable achievement. And through advocacy on girls' education, we have seen an increase in the enrollment of girls in school. Because you see, the gender policy is not a stand-alone policy. It's a policy which cuts across all other sectors. And in developing a gender policy, all sectors come together to develop it. So you have objectives for each and every sector, almost. So because of the work of the education sector, for example, we have seen more girls being enrolled into school and completing grade 12. Today, when you go to most of the schools, during prize giving ceremonies, you see the girls picking up most of the prizes. They are doing wonderfully well. And again, we are also working closely with ECOWAS. And ECOWAS Scholarship of Excellence. We're working with the ECOWAS Gender Development Center based in Dakar, Senegal. And we have a project with them. And one of the deliverables of the project is to bridge the gender gap in science and technology. There, we are giving scholarship to girls who are offering science at tertiary institutions and also at the university level. And so far, we have awarded 100 scholarships to such girls. Some have completed, and some are continuing education.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I also want to look at the health aspect, please.
We'll come to that. We'll come to health. We'll come to health.
Yes.
But here, I just want to quote this to you. It's a World Bank report. It's called Women, Business and the Law Report 2024. Here, it measured two things. One, the laws we have in place. And secondly, the supporting frameworks. When it comes to the laws we have in place, we score 69 over 100. When it comes to the supporting frameworks, we score merely 16.7%. So it's all fine to have all of these laws, but it seems that the systems behind these laws are very scant, sort of flagging weak implementation. How do you respond to that?
That is true to some extent. But you see, when a law is passed, the implementation is the role of everybody. Because everybody has a stake to play. So when a law is passed, we should all come together as Gambians and make sure it is implemented to the fullest. Some of the laws, as I mentioned earlier, FGM, for example, and child marriage. People must report, Mr. Bush. If you don't report a case of FGM or child marriage, there cannot be any arrest or prosecution. So I'm saying that when a law is passed, it is the responsibility of all of us as Gambians to ensure implementation. And we all have a stake, as I mentioned earlier, in its implementation.
But this is the key. If we have so many gaps in the implementation, then naturally we cannot be achieving much.
But then the mere fact that we have come together to pass the law, that alone is a big achievement. And let me tell you one thing. I'm not being complacent. I want to see more and more cases being reported and going for prosecution for all the laws. But remember, we live in a closed society, and this doesn't affect only us as a Gambia, but it also affects other countries in the sub-region. There are countries which have passed the law years before us, and up to now, only few prosecutions have taken place. It all comes back to the same thing. People must report. If they don't report, there cannot be arrest and there cannot be prosecution.
Okay, back to our gender policy 2025-2034. Can you just mention some of the key changes it makes from the previous one?
We've learned, from lessons learned, a review of the policy, we've learned certain challenges and the strengths and the gains. We consolidate on those and scale up in the current one. What we have done as a ministry, we have come up with a strategy plan based on lessons learned from the previous policy. And now we are a ministry. Then it was the Women's Bureau under the Office of the Vice President. So here we have to be more innovative now. It's a ministry. So we've come up with a strategy plan which defines our vision and our mission. And in the ministry, we have established directorates. We have a directorate of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment, replacing Women's Bureau. And social welfare, which is huge, we divided it into two directorates. Directorate of Children's Affairs and Directorate of Social Welfare. And we have a fourth directorate, Directorate of Policy, Strategy Planning, M&E, and Research. And here, these four directorates work together. They complement each other, they work in synergy and complementarity. And they adopt the holistic approach to program design, program planning, program implementation, and M&E. That's quite innovative. And that's the beauty of working together in partnership. They don't work in silos, but rather...
But this is the key. This is the harmonizing, the mainstreaming, gender mainstreaming.
Exactly.
So you have to work with so many different bodies. So you have to coordinate.
Yeah.
How are you coordinating all
so
these different bodies?
Let me just conclude. They work together and they complement each other's efforts. And that's the reason why, if you look at the Ministry of Gender, young as we are, we have been able to achieve a lot. Now you are talking about coordination. At the Ministry, you have the Directorate of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment. That directorate is the institutional mechanism or machinery among whose mandate is to work with all other sectors, government, NGO, local and international organizations, to make sure that gender issues are mainstreamed in the work that we do. And they coordinate the work of all others to make sure that we address gender issues adequately. As we are speaking now...
So how do we know that they're being mainstreamed?
Okay,
I mean, what are sort of like the indicators?
Okay.
What indicators do I look for?
Okay. Let me just say this. As we are speaking, the government of Gambia, or the Gambian cabinet, has approved our gender mainstreaming strategic document and for governance about 2 weeks ago in cabinet. That's a big achievement for the government of the Gambia. And in that mainstreaming document, we are recommending 30% representation of women in management, on boards, in cabinet, in National Assembly. And it will require the Ministry of Gender to put in place the structures required for effective and efficiency in gender mainstreaming. This is what we refer to in gender terms, the gender management structures. Right now, we have the Gender Focal Points Network, and we have the Parliamentary Gender Committee on Gender, Children and Social Welfare. In gender terms, we refer to it as Parliamentary Gender Caucus. So now what we need to do is to set up the Cabinet Gender Committee. In the strategic document, we've identified all of these layers, and each of them has its terms of reference very clearly spelled out. And we are going to have put in place the Parliamentary Gender Committee, comprising of ministers, chaired by the Vice President, and me being the Secretary. And we are also going to put in place the Technical Gender Committee, which will comprise of permanent secretaries, all of them, and heads of institutions. And the permanent secretary of my ministry will serve as secretary. And we will strengthen the Gender Focal Points Network, which will be at the level of Principal Assistant Secretary and not below it. And that will be chaired by the Director of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment. And also now further strengthen the Parliamentary Gender Caucus, and we will all work together to make sure that we maintain gender in our policies, in our programs, and we all talk gender. All the gender talking we have been talking about, now we are going to walk the talk.
But this is the key though, Minister. So far what you've categorized as achievement, be it legislation or documents agreed, it is all at that document level. But surely that is just a starting point. I mean, we don't want to sort of devalue, as it were, what's been done, but surely it's just a starting point. It's a bit like preparing your blocks before you build a house.
Of course.
Yeah, when I prepare my blocks, yeah, there is some achievement, but I haven't really started building the house yet, really, have I?
Oh, be rest assured. This building that we prepare the blocks, we've already did the foundation, and the building is going to move, and it's going to move very fast. We're going to bring everybody on board, and including yourself, to make sure that we maintain gender adequately in our policies and programs, so that we have gender-sensitive programs and policies that we implement across the board.
But again, if I do not take care of the problems of implementation we had identified earlier, and there is no indication that we're really going for that one, without that radical change, then we are not going to see the outcomes we want to see. We've been complaining about implementation all the time. Where have you innovated when it comes to implementation?
Where have we innovated?
Yes, so that we can make a change. So far we've just been talking, but the implementation is not been working.
But I just mentioned to you, Mr. Booch, what we are doing at the level of the Ministry of Gender. That's the reason why we have been able to come this far in terms of our achievements. We have been able to achieve a lot in the Ministry of Gender because of the way that we work together in synergy and complementarity. We started that with the ministry itself. And that's the same thing we are going to strengthen with our partners. We are working with all the ministries. But that's what we are going to strengthen now through capacity building and training to make sure that gender mainstreaming is done well across the board. It has worked in other countries. So it can also work in the Gambia.
recently when you went to the 69th, was it Commission on the Status of Women?
The CSW?
Yes.
Yes.
Was it in March 2025?
CSW, yes, it was in March.
Something like that,
yeah.
yes. You mentioned that now we have database analysis, impact assessments, and gender-sensitive budgeting and stuff like that. Can you give us an example of where those tools change policy or resource allocation?
Yeah, gender-sensitive budgeting, for example, we have the Women Enterprise Fund, which is addressing access to resources, needs of women, for women, female entrepreneurs. The majority of Gambian women are either micro or small entrepreneurs. And access to finance is a key challenge. That's the reason why we have come up with the Women Enterprise Fund. Because we all know that, yes, the banks give loans. I have respect for all the banks. I have respect for all the banks. But then the conditions are not favorable to women. They ask for collateral. Not many women have collateral. And also the interest rates are high. So we came up with an innovative financing mechanism, the Enterprise Fund for Women, and the objective is to have a bank for women. Okay, and again...
And just on that, the Women Enterprise Fund,
yes.
let me just see what's going on there.
Yeah.
According to SONA, the President,
Yes.
SONA, between June and December 2024, 15.88 million was disbursed, right, to support 138 women groups. But here, there was only 26% recovery. How is the sustainability of these schemes?
Okay, let me first of all explain. The Enterprise Fund, when the loan is given out to a women's group, it's for 12 months. And you have a 6-month grace period, after which you start paying at an interest rate of 5%. This was as at, the 15% is as at December. Where's the figure? Is it, where's the figure again? The Enterprise Fund. Where were you reading from?
The 26% recovery. I mean, you've given out so much money, but you're not recovering much. And
that was only
the question about the sustainability of such a scheme.
Yeah, that was the beginning.
All right.
And it's sustainable because it's a revolving loan scheme. It's evolving. As women pay, we give over to more women. And at the moment, we are strengthening the unit responsible for the Women Enterprise Fund. Initially, you had only a fund manager and an enterprise officer. And now we are getting an enterprise clerk and 2 recovery officers. This has been approved for us in our budget for this year. And we are recruiting these 3 staff to support the Women Enterprise Fund. Because at the moment, before that, it has been our staff in the field, our gender officers, who monitor the women's groups. They do the mentoring and the coaching and make sure that when it's time, the payment for the loans is due, loan is due, they advise the women and the payment is done gradually. But now with more staff on board in the field, especially with the recovery officers, we'll be able to recover more of the loan that has been given out. And as I said earlier, it's a revolving loan scheme. And that's only for this last period. But then if you look at the program since 2020, we have made a 78% recovery of the loan. And that also is a big achievement compared to other countries that are also into the Enterprise Fund.
Thank you very much.
Be rest assured, it can sustain itself because because of the revolving nature of the loans. And now we are strengthening the unit, so more and more people will be in the field to follow the women's groups and make sure that they pay the loans and they pay on time.
Thank you very much there, Minister. We'll just go for a short commercial break. Don't move, we'll be right back.
Welcome to IHT Gambia, your gateway to world-class IT education and hands-on training. At IHT, choose from diploma programs tailored to today's in-demand tech fields, Introduction to IT, Database Administration with Data Analytics, Advanced Software Development, Cybersecurity, Multimedia, Graphic Design and Digital Marketing. AI and Machine Learning, Cisco Certified Network Associate, CCNA, Master Industry Leading Tools and Languages, Python, Java, Oracle, Cisco, Microsoft Visual Studio, and more to gain real-world skills that top employers seek. And right now, enjoy special discounts of $4,000 to $10,000 depending on your chosen program. Visit us at 55 Karoba Avenue, Fejora, Kanefin Municipality. Call 346461 4526974 6311320 or learn more at ihtgambia.gm. IHT Gambia, connecting talent to opportunity.
Hello, welcome back. Here watching State of Affairs, and our guest today is the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. We've touched on FGM and their gender as well. We can never exhaust everything that is to be said, as it were, could it? Yeah. So we really can't. But let's move on to children. In fact, some of these concepts sort of like overlap. Isn't it? Really? Mm-hmm. Well, this grim statistic I have here, a Gambian child born in 2020 can expect to reach 42.2% of full productivity. That is the big reality. So I wonder what measures have we in place really to improve our lot regarding children. Let's start with the abuse, neglect or exploitation. What's the legal framework out there? What programs are there to protect our children?
We have the Children's Act of 2005, which we are repealing now, and that is there to protect the welfare of all children in the Gambia. And we have also just validated the Children's Policy, Strategy and Action Plan, which is also meant to protect the welfare of children. And in that document, we have taken on board all the emerging issues as it comes to child protection, trafficking, and exploitation. The children are the future of our nation. And it is our responsibility as Gambians, all of us, to protect and nurture them so that tomorrow they can be responsible adults, but not to violate them, not to traffic them, and not to exploit them.
Yes, there you've mentioned child labor, trafficking, and early marriage. Let's go into each, just for a short while. Child labor, how widespread is it? Do we know?
Child labor is really widespread in the Gambia. You see children selling in the streets. And for us, we believe that children have two places, school and home. And because some children are selling in the streets, that's why some people exploit them. We are working with the Department of Labor to see how we can reduce the children selling in the streets and child labor. Let children stay at home and then go to school and also be trained by their parents to be responsible adults tomorrow. We're going to come up with alternatives to child labor, but then it requires assessment. Why are families sending children to sell in the streets? Why are they involved
poverty?
Why are they involved in exactly? That's why once we do the assessment, we have empirical evidence. Based on that, we can come up with a strategy to provide the parents with an alternative, so that they can stay at home and go to school, but not be in the streets selling or involved in child labor.
Realistically, given the complexity of this issue, what is it that the ministry can achieve?
Well, the ministry can achieve a lot in that, because one thing will be The children will be at home and school and they will be protected.
But how can the ministry ensure that? It surely depends on what kind of home you come from. With some children, they come from certain homes which will sort of open up their future. In others, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I think this is where, for instance, these disadvantaged people, this is where really they rely on the state to provide certain, redressing measures.
That's why I said, when we do the assessment, and we know where the children come from, and we know the nature of the homes, and the reasons why the children are in the street selling, we can come with alternatives for the parents and the families. It will require consolidated efforts of all, not only us as a government, but also the society, the families, the communities, and the country at large. You see, at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, we deal with very sensitive issues. Issues that we deal with are all sensitive. And it doesn't, no one person can effect change. So that's why we don't work in isolation. We work with other government partners, CSOs, and international organizations, and also the communities to be able to impact change.
Absolutely. Because one would, for instance, expect the ministry to have a kind of labor inspectorate to be going, but I suspect that for one reason or another, resource constraints, as we usually call it.
In that, we will not do that work. That's why I said we work with the Department of Labor.
All right.
Yes.
So they'll be doing
that, yeah.
Yeah. What about...
So we'll complement each other's efforts in that, yeah.
That's it. When it comes to trafficking.
Yeah, trafficking.
We are known as a source, transit, destination.
We are mainly a transit point, and when the security come in contact with those who have been trafficked, then they are taken to our shelter in Bakote. That's our shelter for children and victims of gender-based violence, where they are housed and later reintegrated with their families. So we work very closely with the police and immigration in that.
But we are struggling to bring the traffickers to court and secure convictions. How many of those have we done?
I will not be able to tell you that offhand. Yeah, because that's the responsibility of the police, immigration, and Ministry of Justice. We only make sure that we give accommodation, we take care of them, and we work with them to do the reintegration. But the issue of prosecution, is at another level. Yeah.
Absolutely, but that one also, it bears on your work.
Of course, yes.
What you do.
Yeah, of course, yes. But I know prosecution is taking place. Yeah, but I will not be able to tell you offhand how many of such has happened, and how many of the culprits have been prosecuted. Yes.
Understandably so. Understandably so. Now, early marriage. I understand that 23% of women between 20 and 24 were married before 18. That also you have to sort of confront, if you like, entrenched social norms.
Yeah. And you see, Mr. Mboy,
what's the strategy for that, one wonders? Because in so many areas,
yes,
really, you have these customs, these norms that really make your work difficult.
Yes.
How do you engage, as it were, with these things?
You see, Mr. Mboy, since the enactment of the Women's Children's Act amended in 2016, we have seen a reduction of child marriage. And we are busy in the field working with partners. Ministry of Education, Fawe GAM, the Mothers Clubs, our lady councillors, the Bajanego, the teachers, with the sensitization and awareness creation. I had mentioned earlier that now we are seeing more and more girls enroll in school and they complete high school, grade 12. And when we hear about a child marriage case about to take place, we quickly intervene and make sure that the girl continues school, and we engage the family in dialogue so that the girl continues school and remains school until she completes And that has paid dividend. There were cases when the girls will run away and then they stay briefly with the principal or the headmistress while we engage the family and the would-be husband. So the girl will be allowed to complete school up to grade 12 before marriage. You see, in the Gambia we have entrenched laws and customs, and then it requires continuous sensitization, advocacy, awareness creation. We do not relent. We continue working with our partners, with funding from UNICEF and other partners, also from the government of the Gambia. We continue the sensitization. And in our sensitization, we adopt the holistic approach to programming, where we target everybody, from the imams, the traditional leaders, akalos, the women themselves, the girls, everybody is on board. So we create awareness so that they allow the girls. And we also use people like ourselves as role models. If you allow your girl to complete school, tomorrow she can be something. She can be a director. She can be a minister. She can even be a head of state. So with all of that in mind, some parents will listen, most that will listen and allow the girls to complete school because they see the benefits of the girl completing school before marriage. And as we are talking, we have a new project funded by the World Bank. It is SWEAT. Sahel Women Empowerment for Demographic Dividend. That's a component where we jointly work with the Ministry of Education to make sure that girls complete school before marriage and they don't drop out. So we'll give them all the support required so that they remain in school and complete school. But of course, it goes with sensitization and awareness creation. That's why we have another component of the project, which we call SBCC, Behavior Change Communication, which my ministry is heading. So in that we are talking with everybody, the religious leaders, the community leaders, the parents, and everybody on the importance of allowing girls to complete school before they get married. Yeah. And we are ready to give all the support required so that they complete school before they get married.
Minister, it seems to me that your strategy is what I might call consensual implementation, if you like, because the state is weak in enforcing certain rules. So it seems that we're appealing to people's moral sentiment, if I can put it that way. Come on, everybody, let's all just follow the rules and then do this or do that. But that is really not working.
No, Mr.
The
Bush.
cane and
No,
the carrot.
Mr.
You have to
Bush.
use the cane and the carrot
No,
here.
Mr. Bush.
But it's not working.
The state is not weak. The state has done what it is supposed to do. The state has signed international instruments and they are to protect the welfare of women and girls in this country. They are fundamental human rights.
But we're not enforcing much.
And by signing those instruments, the state has made a commitment. And the state is translating the commitment into action by coming up with policies and programs and even having this ministry in place. So now the state cannot work in isolation. This is the reason why we have to work with the communities. Remember, FGM or child marriage, these are entrenched in our societies, in our cultures. They are social norms which require advocacy through training, sensitization, and awareness creation. That with the legal framework will complement each other. So the state is not weak at all.
Absolutely.
So point of correction, the state is not weak.
Okay, but this is what we are saying. The state, the legal instruments, they must be enforced. That helps a lot. If you just leave people to their designs, nobody really wants change. We all know that. So when you have a firm state, then you insist on the change. Otherwise, we'll just be going round in circles for another 1,000 years.
Mr. Bush, as I said to you earlier, for the legal framework to work effectively, people must report. The reports we are getting are more the child is about to get married, then we intervene.
But that's in some areas.
Yeah,
okay,
but again, where the child has already gotten married, nobody comes to complain. You see, this is the problem with Gambia. And it's not only Gambia, you know. It's the same in all the countries, some regional countries around us. Yeah. People don't report. But once we report, the right course of action will be taken.
Absolutely. Now, with all...
And I want to start with you. In your neighborhood, if you hear that a child is getting inform us. We take action.
I certainly would.
Yes.
Yes, children with disability.
Yes.
How prominently do they figure? We're always getting reports.
Yeah,
of
not only
we're not really serving them.
Oh, not only children with disability. We are serving the whole of the people with disability. Let me tell you, they are under our ministry. And we have our rehabilitation center, our orthopedic unit, where we manufacture limbs for them. We provide them with wheelchairs, crutches, and the list goes on. That's here in Banjul. And we have a giving space at the Boston Hospital. So we are decentralizing, so that even those in the rural areas don't have to come all the way to Banjul to access those services. They can go to Bansang to access the services, and we are going to further decentralize. And not only that, this year...
When you say you are going to decentralize,
we make sure that
what?
we have an orthopedic unit at the Bansang Hospital, which will provide all of those services. The wheelchairs, the limbs will be manufactured for those who are amputated to use, the crutches, everything that we are doing here in Banjul, we will go to do the same thing in Bansang.
So currently you have only Banjul unit?
No, it's only Banjul, but now we have been given a place at the Bansang Hospital, and we are going to work with that, work with our partners on that. And again, we have established the Disability Advisory Council and launched it 2 years ago. And we also have now the Disability Fund. The government of Gambia has approved in our budget since 2 years ago the Disability Fund, which we use to support people with disability. And we use it to support the activities of the Disability Advisory Committee, sorry. And we also support 10 organizations with disability. And this year, and we also provide the people with disability with white canes, the visually impaired. And this year, we have supported some of the tertiary institutions, University of the Gambia, MDI, GTTI, with talking laptops for people with disability. And from what we have seen, the demand is high. That was last year. Come this year, we'll buy more of those and then give to those institutions. But first of all, we want to do a survey. And based on the survey, we know the right quantities that we have to procure and supply to them. People with disability are given all the support that is required. After all, they are Gambians. They are human beings. They have a fundamental human right that must be respected. That's why we are giving them all the support.
What accountability mechanisms do we have in place regarding the Disability Fund to make sure that they go to the rightful beneficiaries? We've seen, watching too much TV, all these commissions of inquiry all over the place, seeing how a good number of public officials, how they misuse public funds. Surely it must be any organization's priority to have proper, solid mechanisms in place, accountability mechanisms in place.
Yes, the Disability Council, Disability Advisory Council, the chairperson is a magistrate. And then when they prepare their work plans, we do scrutinize the work plans before funds are disbursed. Similarly, the 10 organizations of disability, which we are also supporting, and when they do their work plans, we do scrutinize before funds are disbursed so that the funds are put into the right use. We are aware of transparency and accountability. And we are making sure that funds are put into the right use.
Okay.
Through close monitoring and supervision.
All right. You do appear before the National Assembly, don't you, with the committees?
Yes, I do, yes.
I mean,
yes.
your ministry.
Yeah. Yes, I do. And they ask questions and I give my answers. And I have respect for the National Assembly members.
Okay.
I have a lot of respect for them. Yes.
Absolutely. Even though not long ago, they really scuppered the quota for women in the National Assembly. You cannot be happy about that, can you?
Yeah, that's one I cannot be happy about. But then we have to understand that we live in a particular society and we still have more work to do. We have more work to do. And Mr. Mboj, I'm not being complacent, but in the Gambia we have achieved a lot. When you travel, when you go international and we make our presentations, people begin to ask us how we're able to achieve what we have achieved. Even though,
in terms of what?
Look
at your cabinet. How many women are in the cabinet?
Even though we as a Gambia, let me talk about the programs first.
Okay,
even though we as a Gambia, we feel that we are not doing much. But when you do make our presentations, people ask us how we have been able to achieve what we have achieved. Yes, in the cabinet, we are only 3 in cabinet.
Everywhere. National Assembly.
National Assembly, likewise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we are working on that.
The country is not ready for that.
You know, the country is ready. It requires concerted efforts, as I mentioned earlier. We all have to work together to make sure that we have more women in the cabinet and more women in the National Assembly as well, including you, Mr. Mboj. Also, we need to work hard on that. Let's all work together.
All right.
Yes.
We're coming towards the end. Finally, let's just touch on this. The National Social Protection Act passed in 2024, wasn't it? And we've got this family strengthening program. Please give us an update on how these things are being implemented.
Oh, just like the Women Enterprise Fund, family strengthening program is also one of our flagship projects. And we support the vulnerable. We get the data from the social register. The social registry, sorry, at GBOS, where together we have been able to identify the widows, the orphans, people with multiple disability, the elderly, and the list goes on. And last year, we supported 3,000 of them through monthly allocation or disbursement of $1,000. And this year, we are supporting 5,006 of them. And as of April this year, when we had our first disbursement, we have disbursed $20,024,000, and each of them was given $4,000. As we are speaking now, work is at an advanced stage for another disbursement by the end of August. Yeah, but the data, as I told you, we got it from the social register. Social register from GBOS. Yes, so that's how they have been identified across the country. But then it's not near adequacy.
Absolutely.
Yes, we need more support because the demand is high. We have more people in these categories. So we need more funding to address them. And they are even here in the urban area, plenty of them.
Is there an audit report of your activities?
We are yet to be audited. Yes.
Why not? It's been what?
No, we are waiting for internal audit to come up and do the auditing. Yes, we are more than ready to be audited. Yes.
All right. I think they're telling me in my ear that it's time. But just finally, how can all of us, civil society, community leaders, how can we play? You've actually mentioned it because with your what I call consensual implementation strategy. So we are all in it together. Is that
Mr. Mboj, as I mentioned earlier, at my ministry we deal with very sensitive issues. Most of which are based on social norms. We need a social norm change. And that's not easy. Because these are entrenched beliefs and practices.
It's a generational game.
Yeah, exactly. So it requires efforts of everybody to come on board and we all work together. And we include even those themselves who are involved in the activities. We work with them for the social norm change, for the required social norm change. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare.
The pleasure is very much mine.
The
pleasure is very much mine, Mr. Mboj.
All right.
And I hope I've given the right answers to your questions.
It was a wonderful discussion, wasn't it? Really.
Thank you.
I see it as a conversation.
Yes, thank you.
Really,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Viewers, thank you very much. Until next time, I'm Mr. Mboj. Bye-bye.
Welcome to IHT Gambia, your gateway to world-class IT education and hands-on training. At IHT, choose from diploma programs tailored to today's in-demand tech fields: Introduction to IT, Database Administration with Data Analytics, Advanced Software Development, Cybersecurity, Multimedia, Graphic Design and Digital Marketing. AI and Machine Learning, Cisco Certified Network Associate, CCNA, Master Industry Leading Tools and Languages, Python, Java, Oracle, Cisco, Microsoft Visual Studio, and more, to gain real-world skills that top employers seek. And right now, enjoy special discounts of $4,000 to $10,000, depending on your chosen program. Visit us at 55 Karoba Avenue, Fejora, Kanefing Municipality. Call 346461 4526974 6311320 or learn more at ihtgambia.gm. IHT Gambia, connecting talent to opportunity.